I think the skills are going to remain largely the same, but I think that eagerness, that willingness to learn, that passion, uh,
Yeah.
it's really finding people who have a passion, and not so much maybe they don't have a passion in manufacturing or mold making or plastics even. I mean, who has a passion in plastics? But it's a passion in problem solving and being a
There
part
you
of a
go.
big picture.
Hey, MMT followers, Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology, and I am back for another MMT chat. Today, my guest is Isaac Trevino, who is in business development for Best Tool and Engineering in Clinton Township, Michigan. And he is also a MoldMaking Technology Editorial Advisory Board member. Hello, Isaac.
Hi, Christina. How are you doing?
Not too bad. All right, let's start off. Why don't you give a little snapshot of who Best Tool and Engineering is, and then we can get into what your role is there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, high level summary, Best Tool is a plastic component supplier, and we specialize in injection molding and plastic welding in the form of hot plate and vibration welding. My role, small company, we wear a lot of hats, but it can be defined as a key account manager. I work directly with our customers and manage their programs.
Okay. All right. I did see by a lot of your background and getting to know you over the past couple of years, you're an engineer and an entrepreneur at heart. So how does Best Tool and Engineering fuel those two aspects of your personality?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been a joy working here. The engineering side is satisfied through just the nature of the work, which is manufacturing and problem solving, which are two things that
Mm,
I absolutely love. And then from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I mean, working with the business on a big picture scale with Joe Churlick, the president, has been just really eye-opening as far as how things work, how the negotiating process is, all those sorts of things.
so it's a natural fit, is what you're saying.
Natural
Yeah,
fit, best of both worlds.
that's great. All right. So share a little bit of your work history and any mold making specific experience or education.
Yeah, so I mean, I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from University of Detroit Mercy, and really, aside from a manufacturing course that I really hadn't had too much experience from a mold making standpoint. However, I have worked in manufacturing in the past, but this has been my first true venture into mold making.
Okay. Oh, how do you like it so far?
It's really
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. What I enjoy most about the mold making side of it is just um, the closeness to manufacturing. I mean, when you work in manufacturing in some larger companies, it's kind of just a black box, so to
Mm,
speak. I mean, you don't really get to see um, the nature of the work. And I think in mold making, there's a lot of smaller shops, and
yep.
me just enjoying me having more fun in smaller shops. You just get more of that exposure, get to see what's really going on, and work with the people directly.
That's a good point. You do tackle a lot at Best. I know that you're communicating with customers, you're scheduling, you're training, you're helping out in the shop floor. So why don't you give us a quick day in the life of Isaac Trevino?
So yeah, I could give a variety of answers just because of the multiple hats. But day to day involves everything from, I mean, updating customers, I'm purchasing components, quoting. More recently, I'm spearheading the pursuit of an ERP system. We're
Oh,
getting to a point in which we say, yeah, we want something a little bit more streamlined to help our process along. From a training standpoint, Joe found this company to handle the bulk of the training for machining basics because we were thinking we were going to do this, but then we thought, you know what? We're not teachers, we're
mm,
mold makers. So let's find somebody that is good at teaching, and we'll do what we do. And I'm still documenting many of the things that are internal to us, but it's finding these partner companies to help us out and fill those visions of how we're going to set ourselves up in the future as well.
that's smart. Like know your strengths, right? Or know where
Know
best
our
to spend your
strengths.
time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you share who that outsourced trainer is?
Praeco Skills,
Oh, that's Ryan.
Praeco.
Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a story lead for me because I know him very well. He used to do a column for mold making, and then
Oh,
I
okay.
then he went off and did a little bit more. He focused more on non-mold making training. So
Hmm.
the fact that you're a mold builder and you're bringing it back in, ooh, that could be a story if there's a success there, or you're both willing to share. So keep me in mind for that.
Yeah, just to fill you in, we've got one of our you know, we'll call him more seasoned employees going through that. He's our guinea pig, so he's going through the program, and we're understanding what are all the needs because the game plan is working with some of the local high schools. Is we're going to be bringing on 2, 3 kids,
Okay.
hopefully, and enrolling them in that program, and by that'll be February, and then by summertime, they should be graduated and they have this good foundation of where they need to be. And then from there, we get to train them towards the BTE side of how we do things.
Oh, nice. That sounds good. I'll be curious to see. Everybody has their different model of training internally. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
keep me posted on that. All right. So you talked about training. What other aspect of your day in a typical day?
I mean, just kind of like I mentioned, I mean, a lot
Okay.
of quoting. When we get to, Joe and I have our production meetings, and we're always having things that we're quoting. So we'll sit down, we'll come up with some numbers, we'll talk with the guys out in the shop to get any input. When it comes to updating customers, we could be working on a job and they're asking, hey, what's the update on this? We're giving them pictures, we're giving them timelines. I do a lot of the purchasing. So as soon as something's wrapped up in engineering, I'm usually ordering raw materials or other purchase components, especially for our vibration welding fixtures, a lot of pneumatic and electrical components that we're buying there. And every now and then I am out assembling. Even this week, most likely
Hmm.
I'll be on the floor assembling some motorcycle components for
Okay.
company needs. Um, Getting busy. So
Yeah. And it makes your job interesting when you're in all those different aspects of manufacturing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I know you work closely with Joe. So you went over pretty much the tribal knowledge. And I think that answer to that is you working on this ERP. You talked about training. What about
Mhm.
culture and industry 4.0? You talk a little, I know a little bit about you adopting those different technologies and strategies. Can you share an example of working on culture? And then we'll get into the industry 4.0.
I wish I could say more on the culture. The culture, I guess, is we're working on it today is managing expectations.
Hmm.
So, as a small family-owned company, one of the difficulties there is you get to a point in which you've got a team that you've been working with for a while, and everyone knows what's going on. But then, what do you do when somebody new comes in? How do they understand what's going on and what's expected of them? So, our culture, the aspect that we're working on there is defining expectations.
Yeah, I like that.
Because as soon as you bring somebody new on, they want to know what's expected of them. They want to know if they're doing a good job, if this falls within their role, their job description. So we hired a process tech recently, and we have seen a lot of success. We laid out all of the expectations up front in the offer letter. Um, and I mean, these are things that are discussed in the interview,
Of course.
but we're making this now a part of the offer letter, saying, okay, this is what you told us, this is what we're expecting. So now we're incorporating that into our quarterly reviews where we work with them and we say, okay, this is what was expected of you. How are we meeting these things? So we're formalizing it, which is, I'm sure larger companies do, but as a small family-owned company, it's it's not always, it things aren't always in place. A lot of it is you kind of get in, you understand what's going on, but you learn that you have to explain things, you have to really document things and
I
set
agree with
people up
that.
for success as you start to grow.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's key because there's a lot of assumptions can be made about performance and
Hmm.
expectations. So I think formalizing and documenting, it makes both parties happier. Let's just put it that way. If everybody knows
Yeah.
what they're getting into, I think that's great. So what about industry 4.0?
Industry 4.0, we actually just got a grant recently for Industry 4.0, and that's why we're heavily exploring the ERPs right now.
Okay.
Um, from an Industry 4.0 standard, I mean, we've done some little things here and there. We've adopted some job tracking uh, softwares to just help us get a little bit more of an idea of where we are. But the ERP is going to be helping us in scheduling and purchasing and having everything readily available because as we continue to get busy, again, small shop, you have ways that you do certain things. As you start growing, you need everything in one place. You need it very streamlined. You need it very efficient. But one aspect that we're really, really doing some heavy investigation with these ERPs is the scheduling aspect. There's a lot of good software companies out there. I've spoken with about 8 of them,
I'm
and
sure.
there's a lot of great things that they can offer. But now it's a matter of, okay, we understand that it's not going to be a one size fits all. We understand that there's going to be limitations. What are the strengths and weaknesses, and what are the workarounds? So that's been heavy involvement on my end, and something that we're still in process. The timeline is to bring on a software and implement by or sooner than the first of the year.
Oh, it's coming. Can you share who you went with?
We have not made a decision yet,
Okay.
but best fit for our company as it looks right now is either between Fulcrum, Global Shop, or Pro Shop.
Okay. That is such an interesting journey for smaller mid-sized shops, the whole ERP and scheduling. You're in it. And there's a lot of case studies. Yeah, you're right. You know what? There's no lack of options. It's just finding the one that's going to fit you, which generally you find out none of them exactly fit mold making. And therein lies the problem. But that's another story. So keep me posted on that. So
absolutely.
With that being said, what do you think, what do you view as the industry's biggest challenge right now?
I think it's talent integrating the newer generation. I mean, just having seen a couple of these companies, I mean, Westminster, obviously very well known in their space. I mean, it's really finding talent and understanding how to attract them between their skills and their enthusiasm for the job.
Yeah.
I've worked at a company where we lost, unfortunately, a lot of the what do you want to call it, internal skills, some of that tribal knowledge, because they couldn't keep up bringing people who were enthusiastic, who were eager to be innovative and problem solve. And they ended up outsourcing a lot of that stuff, or not outsourcing it, but they stopped developing it internally. They could have been a big player in their space. So really, talent, I think, is the industry's number one problem. Just attracting talent, creating an environment that promotes openness, promotes communication, expectations, as mentioned, to where young kids can come in and hit the ground running.
Yeah, that's a nice segue into the next question is, how would you define the mold builder of the future, whether that's skills they need or personality traits? What do you think?
I mean, definitely in terms of skills, it's the basics, but I think it's going back to really cementing the foundational skills, be it through apprenticeship programs or, through these other programs like we're developing right now with Praeco Skills. I think the skills are going to remain largely the same, but I think, from the qualities, personality wise, it's just that eagerness, that willingness to learn, just that passion. It's really finding people who have a passion, and not so much, maybe they don't have a passion in manufacturing or mold making or plastics, even. I mean, who has a passion in plastics? But it's a passion in problem solving and being a part of a picture. I think that's what's going to be key for the mold maker of the future.
Yeah. And you can't really train that in. That has to be part of somebody. Yeah, correct, that's the hard one to find. All right, Isaac. Well, thank you for your time. It's great spending a little bit of time with you, getting to give everybody out there watching a little bit about you behind the scenes and what you offer the board. So I'm looking forward to working with you more. And for everybody out there, for anything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com. Stay informed and stay inspired.